It's the year 2050 and your grandchild needs to interview you about your experience during the coronavirus pandemic for a school project. What do you tell them? I remember the pandemic like it was yesterday, son. You see, I needed a new heel for my shoe, so I decided to go to Los Santos, which is what they called Los Angeles in those days. So I tied an onion to my belt, which was the style at the time. Now, to take the ferry cost a nickel, and in those days, nickels had pictures of bumblebees on them. Give me 5 bees for a quarter, you'd say. Now where were we? Oh yeah, the important thing was I had an onion on my belt, which was the style at the time. They didn't have white onions because of the war in Syria. The only thing you could get was those big yellow ones. I don't know dude, I wasn't sober for most of it or the 10 years before that. Now grab grandpa a beer from the fridge, it's almost noon. What is normal in your country but weird in the rest of the world? We call a traffic light a robot. I really don't know why. South Africa, right? Yes. In India, animals like cows in the streets or roads are very common here, but not in any other country. This is relatively common in some rural areas of the USA. In New Zealand it is normal to be barefoot in public. In the mall, the supermarket, fast food places etc. it's even normal for kids to go to primary school barefoot. It's recognized this is unusual and has become a point of national pride for some people. Don't get me wrong, it's not like everyone is doing this, but it's a noticeable minority and would be seen on a daily basis, even in winter. Kissing the cheeks as a way to salute between men. It's pretty common here, but when I've done it in America while visiting a friend of mine, some other people asked us if we were gay. Italy? Yes. In Denmark, if you haven't gotten married before the age of 25, you'll get tied to a streetlight and get showered with cinnamon. It's common to see big orange spots on the ground around streetlights. It's a very old tradition and we don't actually expect people to get married before 25, but the tradition still goes on. In Switzerland, carrying your military rifle with you. You get the SIG 550 when being conscripted in the army and you take it home, in your own property. Now, there are 2 different cases. When you're going to or coming from the military base, you also have your whole gear with you and you're in uniform, so no one is suspicious. But, there's the 2 case, we have mandatory shooting here, obligatorisch aka Schusswaffen außer Dienst, so you go to the shooting range. Many young guys don't have a car, so it's legal to transport these guns just with the train etc. without wearing your uniform. There were actually some alerts to the police, made by tourists, which thought there was a criminal or active shooter on the way. The military did made a response to the press later and said, that was legal. That was the case of a radio moderator which had his gun with him as he was going to work in morning and to the shooting range on afternoon. He was ride his bicycle and had his rifle on him. Today, the soldiers don't carry ammo with them, but in my time, that was before 2007, we had the Taschen munition, emergency ammo, which was a sealed package with 50x 5.56mm NATO rounds. Maybe, this is not weird for US Redditors, but for many countries in the world with strict gun laws. Like in Germany, a weapon have to be separated into parts, separated from ammo and always to be in a locked suitcase according to the law. Context: I'm Spanish but studied my bachelor degree in the UK. This is more an anecdote on what is considered strange in my country but totally normal for me. After inviting a few uni friends to my hometown in Spain, a baffled former British friend said it was really strange that Spanish people drank during lunchtime and dinner just for the pleasure of it rather than to get drunk. She thought it was a waste of money to drink without actually getting drunk. She was dead serious. That was a real cultural turning point for me. What's some outdated advice that's no longer applicable today? When my brother was around 0 to 2 years old, 2000 to 2002, doctors told my parents to have him avoid commonly allergenic foods. When he was 2, he had peanuts. My parents didn't think anything of it, as they had waited to give him anything like that for a couple of years, but he had an allergic reaction, and they rushed him to the hospital. He had developed a life-threatening allergy to peanuts and tree nuts. 2 years later I was born. Same deal, I wasn't given nuts, though I was tested when I was around 4, with no sign of an allergy. So I go on living my life without any nuts whatsoever. Not because I have an allergy, but because my brother had one. So in 5th grade, I was given a granola bar at baseball practice. I didn't know it had peanuts in it, but I asked my dad to take me home because I felt horrible. I had an extremely bad sore throat. My dad assumed I just didn't want to be there, and play video games or something. My paranoid mom, you can imagine why, asked me if I had anything to eat. I had another test, and sure enough, I had a life-threatening allergy to peanuts and tree nuts, not life-threatening the first time usually. It turns out, after more recent studies, the exact opposite is supposed to be done to young children. They must eat all kinds of foods that are commonly allergenic, so as to make their bodies used to the food, and much more less likely to develop an allergy. If you're wondering, me and my brother underwent an experimental and new treatment over the past couple of years called oral immunity therapy, or OIT. We now take daily doses of around 5 peanuts, and other nuts we are allergic to. Luckily we can eat anywhere we want now, without needing to carry epinephrine. Thanks for listening to my TED Talk.